Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and start with introductions. We don't have a ton of participants yet, so we might as well just let everybody introduce themselves. I am Marlena Greasy. I'm a 4-H agent in the Southeast area in Colorado for 2 counties, and I will hand it over to Dessa.
Hi, my name is Dessa. I'm a former 4-H agent in Rio Blanco County, and now I'm an instructor and advisor for the Extension Education Master's Program with CSU.
Let's move into our helpful facilitators, all CSU Extension agents.
Woo, woo.
Start.
Barb. Oh, Jen.
Oh, unless we can
go for it. Just jump in.
My name is Jen Johnston. I'm a 4-H agent here in Pueblo County in Colorado.
I am Amy Knode. I am a 4-H extension agent in Morgan County, Colorado.
Hi, I'm Lacey Taylor, and I am in Cheyenne County in Colorado.
I'm Abby Weber, and I am in the Southeast region as a regional agent, and I am currently doing Bent County Extension also.
I'm Perry Pelletier. I'm a 4-H agent in the western part of Colorado, Gunnison.
I'm Tiana Garcia. I'm an extension agent in Baca County, Colorado for 4-H and livestock.
I'm Barb Shaw. I am the Colorado Western Regional STEM Specialist.
I'm Beth Dallaire. I'm the Pueblo County 4-H coordinator in Colorado.
Okay, participants, feel free to introduce yourselves. I think just jump in there because I have not ever found a great way to do that. So jump in, introduce yourselves.
I'm Kim Pond from Mass. I'm part of the teaching and learning team here, and I'm just here to support our team and be a participant before I do mine.
Hi, Kim.
My name's Dawn Lindsley, and I am also with the teaching and learning team, and I am providing tech support today if you need it.
Hi, my name is Mary Lou Anden. I am in Cook County, Illinois, and I'm the 4-H youth development educator. And I'm just here to learn more of the PKRC because apparently that's something that we need to have as something checked off our list for promotion.
I'm Tracy Keifenheim. I am the 4-H program educator for Fond du Lac County in Wisconsin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tanya Price, an associate professor and 4-H extension specialist with Virginia Tech, and I'm just excited to be here and learn from everyone. It's storming really bad here, so my internet connectivity is going in and out, so I keep turning my video off and on, but it's good to be here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Martha Bismeyer, and I'm a 4-H youth development educator in 3 counties in Northwest Illinois.
Sorry, I'm going to be off and on mute because there's construction going on outside my office. So is that everybody? I think it maybe was. Okay, so we are going to jump into kind of a fun little game to get you thinking creatively. We're going to be utilizing experiential learning today, and you all are going to get to create and collaborate together. So we want you in that creative mindset. So I'm going to share my screen here really quick. And I'm going to drop a link into the chat to a Jamboard. And everybody can follow this link. If you haven't used a Jamboard before, they are pretty fun. They have lots of different options over on that left-hand side. My favorite is sticky notes because I'm kind of a sticky note queen on my own. So we're going to jump in, and what we're going to do is we are going to, sorry, losing my train of thought. Okay, can everybody see my screen now? Okay, so we've got these random list generators, and over here on this one, we've got all of the different program areas that we're going to be letting you choose as breakout rooms today. And on this one, we've got kind of some of the different activities that we do in 4-H. So clover buds, so those littles, some of you call them clover kids. Dawn in Nebraska, you guys have clover kids. After school activities, icebreakers, community service, camp session, junior leader project. What we're going to do is randomize this. So we'll pick, let this program pick one of these program areas, project areas, and then one of these types of activities. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a sticky note in your Jamboard, and you're going to put any idea that comes to mind for how you can combine those two things. So we will go ahead and start. Okay, so we got after school and civic engagement. So type your ideas in a sticky note on that Jamboard for any ideas that you have around civic engagement activities that would be a good fit with, oh, sorry, it was junior leader project. That one's kind of easy. There should be lots of ideas. So civic engagement activities for a junior leader project. And you can move your sticky notes around on that Jamboard. Ooh, good ones. So how a bill is made. One of my 4-H council volunteers today is in Denver testifying on a bill, which I think is so cool. And I wish she could be here to talk to our council members about it tonight. Ooh, county board meeting. That's a really good one too. Assisting the county commissioners. I just heard about, where was it? Was it Pilled? Somebody did a session on how they have like a junior commissioner board that's really, really cool. Create a PSA, awesome. Junior Fair Board, fantastic. 4-H Day at the Capitol. Let's hope that's back this year. CTC, Teen Council. I don't know if other people from other states have been able to work with communities that care, but it's an awesome program. Proclamation, awesome. Okay, let's go on to the next one. So you can just click up at the top, you'll see it says 1 of 5. You can just click next frame and it will take you to a, oh, Flag Day, that's another good one. A whole new blank Jamboard. So you can see mine here. So we will generate a new one. Shooting sports and community service. So what is a community service activity around shooting sports? That's a good one. Vermin Eradication Day. I liked it.
Marlena, we can add the titles for each of these right at the end so that and we can share this out to everybody because these are really
we can.
Ideas.
I know that we have some ranchers that would love Vermin Eradication Day.
Yeah, we could, you could even create squirrel hunting permits.
Ooh, I like the awareness for when to wear orange riding and walking. I went hiking last fall out. It's like an 11-mile hike to some dinosaur tracks. And I got out there and I met like 3 groups of hunters. And I was like, I am not wearing the right colors. Like I just didn't even think about it. Ooh, I like making orange vest items for animals. That's a good one too. Okay, I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with during our breakout room sessions because you're already super creative. Okay, so an icebreaker. So this will be a short one. Around companion animals. Whoops, it says STEM, but it was companion animals. Icebreaker around companion animals. And you can just go on to the next blank Jamboard there at the top. I have to give Tiana a shout out because she had her clover buds do like pet show and tell, and it was the cutest thing ever.
Oh, I'm interested why snakes are not companion animals. I might have to Google that. I feel like someone might argue that.
I will. We did Critter Corner on snakes, and it was very well attended. Our health department director actually he has snakes. He has a snake collection.
That almost seems ironic.
I know. He's very careful though. Like when he brings his snakes anywhere, he's like, you have to wash your hands. You can't get salmonella.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
An emotional support duck. That's fantastic. Ooh, who am I with animal picture on the back? That's a really good one. There's actually a really cool companion animal program from Nebraska, and that's one of the icebreakers that they have. Okay, we've got 2 more. What is your animals theme song? Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to spend some time thinking about that one. That could be good. Okay, next one, after school, and we'll just go with STEM. That's, I mean, duh. After school and STEM just are perfect fits. Oh yeah, Mentos rockets are a blast, literally. Chemistry. Ooh, teabag rockets. Whoever posted that one, how do you do that?
You empty out a tea bag and like take the staple out and you stand it up so that it's a column, and then you just light the very top of it with a lighter and it dissolves and it flies up like a hot air balloon.
Oh, super cool.
Wow.
That's a classic AmeriCorps STEM activity. Although you do have to be careful with the fire.
Yes, you do have to factor in wind into that. And if you're all curious, it is on the Pueblo County 4-H Facebook page in our STEM videos that we did last year during the pandemic.
Oh, awesome. Elephant toothpaste, that's always a blast. Google Doodles. So I go to Google Doodles, like their page every day and write that down, like write down what it is in my journal. So I always learn something new. Okay, what about Play Human Robots? What's that one?
So that one is you pretend to be the robot and you have the kids direct you to do something.
Oh, cool.
Like give me directions to get out of the classroom, and like they'll say walk forward and I'll just walk forward till I hit a wall and they're like, no, not that far. If you can be outside, it's really fun to have them tell you how to make like a peanut butter sandwich and just take everything absolutely literally. So if they say like scoop the peanut butter with your left hand, you just jam your hand into that jar and scoop it out and then go, now what?
Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
it's hilarious and it's super fun.
Dare to be you, Tiana and Lacey. Wait, it's not our job anymore. Never mind. Okay, one more. Oh, come on. Okay. It's not wanting to load. Okay. Oh, we already did that one. Okay, so we will do livestock and camp session.
Could you repeat that? Livestock and
Livestock and camp session.
camp session. Okay.
Not cow tipping. Ooh, how to make a rope halter. That's a really good one. Fitting camp. Ooh, livestock relay race challenge. That could be fun too. Ooh, backpacking with mules or llamas. Cool. How to safely evacuate livestock. That's a great one. Decoration for your fair stall. That would be a fun one too. Goat yoga. Yes, I have done goat yoga as a camp session. Dressing an animal using a pineapple. That could be fun. Okay, these are all super fun. Thank you for being so creative. So we will horse painting. Ooh, that could be really fun. Okay, so we're gonna move into the very brief lecture part of our webinar here. And then we will let you split into breakout rooms. So let's see. Here we go. So this is kind of our agenda. We've already done the welcome, the connection before content. We're going to really briefly talk about the experiential learning model, and then you're going to get to split into breakout rooms. And Dessa has put together a really great lesson plan that I'll let her kind of talk about and explain that part of. But first, we'll talk a little bit about the experiential learning model. And Dessa, you can jump in if I happen to miss anything. But the goal here today, I think, as 4-H agents, most of us are familiar with the experiential learning model, or we at least know that that's what we do. But what we want to do is to help you be more intentional about using the experiential learning model as you create lesson plans to use with your 4-H members. So you are going to be using experiential learning today. You're going to be creating and collaborating with your group on creating a lesson plan. So you're going to be doing, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do the reflect and apply, and hopefully you will continue to apply this after you leave. So there are, can you still see the presentation? Okay. So you're going to be coming back around to this, and that is the whole point of that cyclical shape of the experiential learning model, is that you continue to build on what you're learning. You're going to be learning from each other today. So you're going to be collaborating with your group and kind of building on each other's experiences and knowledge bases to create something that's really awesome and effective. Sorry. Okay. And you're going to be kind of taking responsibility for your own learning in this session. So does anybody have any questions before I hand it over to Dessa? Dessa, would you like to talk about the lesson plan?
Sure. Do you have it? Or
I can share that, yeah.
Perfect.
And I will share this in the chat as well. So you all can download this and use it yourselves. Not sure, I apologize. My internet just like got super slow all of a sudden. So, okay, there you go.
All right, so here we have a template based loosely off of the template for the 4-H lesson plans. But here we just highlighted the steps of the experiential learning model. And as Marlena says, it's something that we all do as part of all our programs. And it's kind of, you know, like the main component of creating 4-H programs is having hands-on activities. But often I think we overlook even the simple parts, such as writing a learning outcome. And I really like learning outcomes as part of your lesson plan creation, as a part of using the logic model, and we start with the end goal in mind. So with that, what do we want people to, or what do we want the youth to get from this program? So that's where we have to write your learning outcomes for any kind of program you do, big or small. That way you can gauge it and, you know, measure at the end if it worked. And so we've created this little template for you to work through and to make sure that you hit each part of the experiential learning model, not only to make sure that you have a great and engaging program, but I think this is also a great tool to help you connect your goals with your programming, so that later on you can create really cool evaluations or impact reports, or maybe do some scholarly writing. But because, you know, like for example, all these little activities we just did on the sticky notes, you know, in 4-H we call those programs. But a lot of them, I mean, even though they are simple and quick and easy activities, there really was a learning outcome for it. But we, you know, we glaze over them so fast, because especially with 4-H, we're always like punting the ball down the field. But as often as we can take the time to, you know, make notes of the way that we are connecting research-based learning activities to change behaviors with youth, the better. So again, more things just to keep track of what you're doing. But if we start with a lesson plan and we start with clear goals and write down the steps, then we might be more inclined to finish with an evaluation and an impact report, or something that we would share with stakeholders for a later date. So this little lesson plan we have here, when you go into your breakout rooms through your topic area, you will work together as a group. You can also on the side, you know, help have ask everyone for help if you have a program that you've been kind of stuck on and you want help with, you know, different ideas for incorporating the experiential learning model, have at it. Our goal is that when we come back into our main session room, we'll have one program with activities that we can fill out, and then we will share with everyone a completed program for all the different topic areas. If that works for all y'all.
Thank you, Dessa. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. And you are able to select which one you would like to go into.
Are you all good if I pop into one?
Oh yeah, go for it.
So Marlena, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong here. I'm so.
I just assigned
Yeah.
you. You should
Thank
have.
you.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks.
And Wendy and Anna Karen, if you would like to join one, you are more than welcome to as well. I am so bad about starting strong and then just like, let me move into having each group kind of discuss. So let's start with healthy lifestyles. Tell us what you came up with.
So I actually asked the same question that was in the chat. That stands for the PRKC, right? Because there's nothing on this form that indicates what KC competency should be related to. So we decided that we were going to do an experience of providing or teaching about gardening for families and youth, and they would be able to use seasonal fresh produce and grow their own food for any kind of like whether it's food insecurity or you have youth that are taking care of themselves after school or something like that. You just provide them with those resources that they're able to create a garden and be able to do that themselves over one growing season, after one growing season is completed. So they feel confident in doing that.
This looks
to tell
really
you
cool.
We kind of went with a farm to table, like almost ag lesson design, but you could do it whether you were in an urban setting or in a more rural setting. It would work in either location.
We also talked about, like, because of the supplies that you needed, you could either use like a whole gardening plot, you could do patio gardening, you could do garden beds at a facility, you know, all sorts of things. You have lots of options there with doing this because you don't have to have a huge plot of land to grow food that you can eat.
This looks really cool. You all were so thorough in like the food safety and kitchen safety, and like that's really awesome. Any questions for healthy lifestyles?
We did fill out some of the page 2 also. Okay, I didn't know if we got to the share portion. But Marlena, can I ask a quick question? Faith was talking about the assessment part, which we did not get to. And had we worked a little further, we would have gotten to that. But is that something that we're going to discuss as a group? She said that's typically where her hang up is the, it's not getting the project together and all of the things that are required for the that did we really meet the outcomes and that kind of thing. So is this the right venue to talk about that here, or should we wait till later?
Sure, no, that's fine. Dessa, are you kind of wanting, like, do we want to just put it out to the group and see like how, I guess,
let's just, we can all powwow together, and because that's the point of this whole webinar, is just to be able to put all our heads together to come up with some ideas we wouldn't have done by ourselves.
So I think maybe one thing I learned from the 2 classes I took this last spring is we underestimate using, like, we think of assessments and evaluations both as sometimes being like a you know, a pre and post test or something that's very solid, but something I think you can do a lot of assessment and evaluation of the program through like pictures and some of those things that we don't always think about as like a formal tool. so much. Barb is kind of the pro at putting together programs though, so she might have some input.
One of the things that I like is I have Bloom's taxonomy, which has been superseded a couple times by others that call it different things, depth of knowledge, stuff like that. But I go back to Bloom because it's basically Bloom, just renamed. Bloom came up with these different words that you can observe your youth doing during their project, and you know that they understand, because you can't evaluate understanding because what's to hang on to it? You know, do you understand after a lifetime of learning on one specific thing? But you can say they've listed all the steps in the scientific method, so you know that they have grasped the scientific method. And so he uses these verbs that are specific verbs that you can identify that they have achieved that. And for the shorter programs, it's a really nice when you set up your objectives. These are the things that I want to meet, and the learning outcomes are this, 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 and this. The students will. And in using those Bloom's taxonomy words, then you can, as you're going through the class, make observations. Yes, they did that. Yes, they did that. Yes, they did that. So when you get back to the evaluation piece, the assessment piece, then you say they met all of those objectives that I had, the learning objectives that I had at the beginning, so that your assessment is that you achieved them. And for the longer class, then you can do the more drawn out one where you can actually get a lot more data coming in to really pick apart specific things. But a lot of us, we have 45 minutes with the kids and then we're on to another group or on to something else. So that's a nice way of doing it, quick and dirty. And I will type in the chat Bloom's taxonomy. I have this one, you can find several of them.
Are you able to see my screen?
I see your, oh, yep, there it is, Bloom's taxonomy.
So this was one that I used multiple times last semester. To me, it's really great to be able to like just go through these lists of verbs and be like, oh yeah, that's the one I need. That's what I need to write my objective.
So I echo this. Marlene, I'm actually going to print yours because I like yours better. I have a wheel, but I am shocked at how many times a week I open my Bloom's taxonomy for writing learning outcomes for everything that I do.
I just think this one's cool because
I'm sorry,
it includes things like podcasting, you know, things that you don't always, they're new and fresh. And anyway, go ahead, Barb.
And they were specifically designed as an assessment tool.
Does that help?
Yeah, I like that resource, those resources.
Okay. Thanks for bringing up that question. Okay, let's go into STEM. Let me open it up and share my screen. Well, your sticky notes are not showing up.
Maybe I can show my screen because it should still show the sticky notes.
Let me stop sharing and there you go. You should be good.
Okay, wait a minute. Share screen, sticky notes.
Perfect.
Okay, go back. So, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's in the robotics program, the 4-H robotics program. And I think it's written for groups rather than, maybe it's a regular project, but it's without the robots. And I can't remember the name of, I mean, I have the book right around the corner. There are 3 of them. And they do this one where they build a little, I've always called it doodle bot. I forget what they call it. So we use that. That was, we're doing this after school, 5th grade class, 45 minutes. And I'm going to see if any of the participants in this group would rather talk about it rather than me. Robin?
I was like, you've got this.
I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Okay. So with our outcomes, we wanted our students to be able to describe the engineering design process in their own words, work together, and complete an electric circuit. Our primary content area was engineering. We were thinking like 45 minutes. The competencies, and again, we also kind of questioned this one and went, what exactly do they want here? But we had list the steps in the engineering process and share ideas and listen to one another as important competencies. And then for supplies, we've got a whole laundry list here: motor wires, batteries, solo cups, markers, craft sticks. Oh, this is getting teeny tiny. Masking tape and electrical tape, because you don't want to do circuits with masking tape. You can catch things on fire. Rubber bands, paper, especially butcher paper to cover tables, wire strippers, goggles, space to work, and pink pearl erasers. And so to jump into things, we just had them form a circuit to start their motors. You know, here's a battery, here's some wires, here's some electric tape and a motor, figure out how to make it go. And then once they did that, and everybody got theirs working, have a little discussion about how they formed the circuit, maybe reinforce that vocabulary of you've made a circuit, and have them talk about, you know, their process and figuring out how that all worked. And then we had them discuss how they were going to apply what they learned about how their motors got started and how they moved, to start brainstorming and developing ideas on how they were going to design and build their little doodle bot with the markers that could draw. So then we actually kind of on ours flip-flopped the process and the sharing on apply. So we actually had them doing the process first, which was building the robot, testing it, making improvements as they needed to make sure that it worked, and then bring everybody back together again to demonstrate how their Doodlebot works, and to talk about, you know, how did you build this? How did you come up with your design? You know, maybe watch other people's bots and get some design tips from them and things. So we kind of flip-flopped 4 and 5. Hopefully that's okay. And then for assessment, we were mostly just doing some observational assessment. So visually observing them, working as teams, meeting the objectives. And it was visual, tactile, and auditory. And then for impact, we kind of discussed how impact is hard to gauge with a short lesson like this. But things like resiliency, increased confidence in doing science, as they say, and practicing collaborating were all important skills that they practiced, and we would hope they would carry forward as impact. So questions, or did I forget anything? Oh, I forgot our learning strategies over here. So successful collaboration and problem solving were kind of our strategies. And then our big M of belonging, generosity, and mastery. Because they're in a group, they're sharing ideas, they're sharing knowledge with others that need help, and they're creating something and figuring out how to make it work. So we felt like all 3 of those were met.
Awesome. You guys
Marlene,
yeah.
I just noticed that it's under art instead of STEM. So I pulled up the
wrong. Okay. Good to know. We'll make that change when we send it out. Okay, let's do, on that note, artfully engaging your civic audience. They even came up with a cool title.
Well, we decided to get a little creative and combine two of the areas. So if you look at what is facing so many communities across the country is that art is missing from the landscape, whether that's simply because schools do not have the funding, or basically it goes back to a funding issue. So we're looking at how can we highlight that art is ever present in 4-H programming and development. And that's why we wanted to tie in and incorporate working with our stakeholders, whether they are city council, county commissioners. We're trying to look at a more local area. And then as you can see, I will share the screen. Oops, hold on one second. We wanted to highlight just how much artistic expression is tied in through 4-H, and it was a good way. When you're looking at civic engagement, it's always very important to go into the stakeholder gathering with a specific issue. And ideally, we would have an hour with our stakeholders, and that's being optimistic, but that's what we would really like to do. We wanted to showcase our youth component and have them come in and teach a portion of what they have learned about how art ties in. And then we would have a gallery walkthrough, which was new to me, but I thought that was very engaging. And we would have them, the stakeholders, also reflect on what their experiences have been, and then how they can highlight that with the youth. So if you see on the screen, we just walked through those, and I'm sure without taking up more time, just wanted, you guys can all be able to go through and look at these once we're all done. But we really are optimistic about how we can tie together our civic leaders as well as our art community and bring about new, either sustained support for extension or with the art program through youth development, or just continue on and have increased support for our program.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let's do companion animal.
Okay, are you able to share it, Marlena, or if not, I can.
I can, yep. Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we kind of talked about a couple different experiences we could possibly do. Some more specific ones we looked at was like how to safely approach your companion animal, because there's a big difference in how you'll like approach a cat versus a dog, and how each of them also experience communication, because an 8-year-old child running up to a cat and squeezing their face is not going to end very well for either the cat or the child in question. We also talked about other neat opportunities you can touch base on, such as like nutrition, 101 basic companion care, because sometimes people get a dog or a cat that they're not familiar with, and they are unprepared for this either young puppy or older dog that might have some requirements that they just aren't very used to. So that was kind of like our experience, things like that we'd kind of be looking at. Kim had this really cool idea about the dog bots, which Kim, I don't know if you want to jump in and talk about that, since you could probably explain that idea a lot better than I can, because it was a really neat idea she brought up.
All right. Well, I just jumped in because Beth didn't have anybody in her group on the STEM specialist. So we basically wanted to expose some of our summer programming to companion animals. We had a mentor that was training a service dog at the time and doing some therapy with horses, but having the Google grant and doing CS. So we combined the two. So they learned about dog safety, what you needed to care for a pet, animal science, primarily around dogs. But then they also had to code the robots in order to be able to have them do dog agility. So we had the robots basically pre-made for them. So it was focused mostly on the coding, and they didn't have to worry about building the bot unless they wanted to adapt it. So they kind of talked a little bit about breeds. We did dog bingo. So basically, we kind of wanted to focus on the coding, but also bring in that safety and animal and connect them to our traditional 4-H clubs and having them come in with some animals at the end, because this was more of our outreach with some of our summer feeding sites. So kind of how to bring the two communities together. So we could break down each activity, but we just talked about in general because it was just the two of us. So we really didn't have a group.
So yeah.
But as far as assessments, we basically, very similar to what Barb was talking about, Bloom's taxonomy talked about, there's various ways to do it based on age. It could be a share out if they learned about different animals. Maybe the group that learned about cats would get up and talk about cats. Maybe it's a poster. Maybe it's a skill-a-thon that they have to go through and show that they, able to identify the feeds or something like that. So there's a variety of methods you can use, along with a quick, like the quiz bowls, things like that, if they're competitive. So we talked a little bit about different ways for assessment. So we actually didn't stick to actually a lesson plan. We kind of just brainstormed between the two of us.
That's totally fine. Lots of really cool ideas. I love the idea of the robot and agility, the dog bots. That's really cute. Okay, last one is DEI.
Cool. So I actually had a separate.
Okay, I will stop sharing then.
Okay. Cool. I will pop it up.
And
here.
also, while Jen's pulling that up, I've dropped the link to the evaluation for this webinar in the chat box in case any of you are having to take off. So please take your time and fill that out.
Cool. Well, we had a very small, intimate group as well. I was working with Wendy, and so she really kind of got a tailored experience to work on a project in DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'll hand it over to you, Wendy, if you're comfortable with that.
Sure, that's fine. We started to kind of hone in on this age group of 5 to 7-year-olds, and based on an agricultural summit I had recently attended, and this is fairly place specific to where I am, but I imagine it's something that you could use no matter where you are. I had a very specific location in mind as we were kind of talking this through. So talking about how to introduce small children who may not be aware of all the people who came before us in these lands and their traditions, knowing that maybe some of these children do share those traditions. So trying to be very aware of the groups we're working with. But we both kind of came up with this idea of, well, stories are such a good way to connect with the clover buds with 5 to 7-year-olds. So finding some native stories or books on folklore, focusing on literacy with the children and doing that in nature, low to no budget for this activity. And trying to build these skills of cultural sensitivity and awareness. And I think because so many of these stories focus around animals, I think then that was kind of this leap we made to doing a nature walk, paying attention to the animals around them, and then tying in this element of stewardship for these places where all of us at some point have come to live, and honoring those who have gone before and who is there now, and how do we be good stewards. So it's we went from DEI kind of to conservation. And so how would we do that? We would read a story together, go for a walk, pay attention to our surroundings. When we reflect, we would talk about that, let the children ask questions and answer in an age-appropriate way. We talked about reflecting an application that the children can compare stories. Many families have their own stories. Maybe the children have their own kinds of stories from their own cultural backgrounds they'd like to share. We were looking at the auditory. Given the experience in nature, they could sit down and do sound maps of what they heard around them. Jen had a great idea of this in the field book with some animal and plant identification. And that got us thinking about native plants and what they've been used for, and perhaps what Indigenous populations have used those native plants for. Let's see, I think we covered all of those. Supplies needed, books, check them out from the library. Probably don't even have to buy anything. Maybe a field journal, some coloring supplies so that they can process that way. And then in the application part of sharing, talking about specifically how can we be good stewards of the land, honor the people who have been here and continue to be here, and so that we can all enjoy the future here together. And in order to maybe give a more deeper reflection for that, let them pair up and share with others. And then finally, the apply and process section, we talked about encouraging the kids to speak with their parents or guardians at home about what they've learned, send home a reading list, a fact sheet. Maybe there's some things that parents simply aren't aware of that they could learn about from this. And in addition to that, potentially some, an adult, reading list and some university resources. So assessment, we talked about hand raising, what did you learn today? And then of course, afterwards, we've had good experiences using Google Forms for post assessments. And that way then parents could also help children just a little bit in filling that out. And it might be a good opportunity too, to say, did I talk to anybody about, there you can ask the question of, did you talk to a parent or a friend about what you learned? And then they get a chance to say that, and we know that information then. So the impact, we hope, would be raise sensitivity, cultural sensitivity, acknowledgement of Indigenous populations, and also on that conservation side of things, some raised awareness of the animal and flora and fauna around the children in this environment. Jen, did I cover that? Do you have anything to add?
Could not find my mic. Yeah, no, that was brilliant. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, so I guess if anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot. Otherwise, we are kind of at the end of our session and past a little bit. So if you want to stay in chat, I will. Oh, yes. Thank you, Anna Karen. There's a note in there about the evaluation and if you would like a certificate for attendance. So if you need to put that in your reporting or anything. So if you have any questions, feel free to hang out. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. Dessa, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you guys very much for participating.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for the help.
Special thanks to all our Colorado colleagues for helping us. Oh. Did you hit end record?
Not yet.
Great job, ladies.